So then I asked things like, so do you think now like my job wouldn't be good enough? And she's like, well, it's like entry level and kind of her job is more senior, blah blah blah. But then she doesn't. So it was like she kind of, we both know the situation, so she knows that like I want this stuff, but she's sort of more ahead of me because she's like older than me and different job or whatever. And so it's like, it's just weird. It's like we both like each other, and we've only met once. So again, it's just, you know, we like each other, but there's all this like ambiguity and like pressure, I guess you could say, or like impending doom.
That escalated.
Have to make like. So obviously, like the more I like her and the more I want to stay with her and the more things get better, the more I will feel as if I need to like raise my game, sort of thing, right? Which is weirdly, it feels almost like like she it's like I worry that it'll be more a case of she'll hold back on liking me to a point, so that like if I don't meet that standard, that it's easier for her to like leave. You know what I mean?
You want to make it easy for her to leave.
No, I think she would make it. She will try and make it easier for her to leave. So it's like, because
If you try to go into this,
yeah, so it's like the
think she
more we
would
get
treat it
into
that
it,
way?
and we both know that like there needs to be some kind of like, you know, supporting the kids and who's going to work and da, 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 da. It's like
Gotcha. Take it easy.
we both
You're both
know
gonna-
this current situation. So like, if she's going to get like pregnant and have a kid, then it's like she won't be able to work, or I don't know, for like whatever long. Maybe she doesn't want to work. That's part of it, right? I don't know. And so it's like, say it's like 2 years from now, and we've been like dating the whole time, and it's really great. And it's like we want to have our kids now, and like my job is still like average, like money. Then what? You know what I mean? What happens then? You know what I mean? So it's kind of, and I don't like this idea of
Adapt or die.
yeah. So, but then I don't like this sort of
Yeah, but that seems like an incredibly common situation.
yeah.
Most
So
people
it's-
aren't settled and ready by the time that they have kids, but at least they're on a trajectory where safety is likely.
Right. But then how do you even judge that? It's like,
Man, I don't fucking know.
what is my trajectory? It's like I want to start this thing, but it's like, it's not the same as like, okay, you're at medical school and you're working towards being a doctor, then you'll become a doctor. It's like I'm trying to start my own animation business thing. It's like a bit vague and sort of. It's like,
Yes.
so what? And so it's
That means you basically can't measure it, and you need to figure
Yeah.
out a way to do that so that you know you're heading in the right direction.
right. But then it's
Yes.
kind of
Go ahead and do that, Isaac. You're welcome. I solved it for you.
yeah.
So stating the obvious.
But it feels like again it's that same issue I had with the other person I was seeing, where it's like,
Game's up.
but it was like it was doomed from the beginning, or like
My
I
God,
got too attached because it was like I thought, you know, just like, you know, friends with benefits or whatever, and then it kind of I got too
Wasn't.
used to having it around, and then like I got too used to that being my life, and then I want more, and then oh, when's it gonna end? And the sort of impending doom again of like the relationship or whatever the fuck it is. And so that's what I don't like, the idea that even if we like each other loads and everything, like we kind of want to be with each other, there's something else that's like gonna like force us apart, and it's
Be more
purely like
important? What?
my responsibility. Just like we both want kids, but I have to be the one to look after everybody, which is the traditional, you know, the man provides.
Is that what you talked about? Is that what the conclusion you reached? I'm confused.
Well, that was basically the conclusion. She said, she's like, I want kids and I want
You to take care of everything.
Yeah, well, in a sense, like, or like that, it to be there in case, like, because it'll be like a fam. So I need to know that you're someone who could like provide for us if something happened, or if this or that, or you know, whatever. Like, she becomes a fucking housewife or something. You know, like it's like, yeah. So it's just. But then there's like, is there going to be compromise? Is it like we could both work? And...
Isaac, have you considered becoming? What the fuck is Chris? Finding a sugar mom. You take on the supporting role.
That's what I thought that because it's like her job is like a lot more senior than mine, and she's like older than
Do you
me,
say
everything.
senior?
Yeah, like she's like a director at a company or something. Right?
She's fucking old, Isaac. If she's over 20, she doesn't have value.
Right, exactly. But then that's what it's like.
Ew.
She
She's in her
doesn't want
30s.
to.
Ew.
Yeah, and that's what I'm. And like, so imagine like, say we date for 2 years, and then like, okay, let's have kids now. Maybe she won't even be able to, because she's like too old. And so like for her, there's more.
Really
this,
feels
like,
that way?
well, that's what she feels more like. There's a time limit because she's like 35 or whatever. So
Yeah.
she
okay.
doesn't want to. If she's gonna like find someone to settle down with and like figure out if there's someone
It's
that
gonna
want
be
to have
happening
kids with.
soon.
Right. So it's like.
Well,
or
what
like
are
a
you waiting
year,
for,
or, like,
Isaac?
it's-
Strike while the iron's hot. Let's go.
There's just these millions of like. How do you make like? There's no right decision, like, in terms of. Will you ever be right? Like, we could have a kid and then like, I could lose a fucking arm, or she could die, or like I could die, and then she'd have to look after the kid anyway. So it's
Yeah,
like,
that's how I think about my problems in case of worst case scenarios, definitely.
no, but I mean, as in like, if you try and wait for everything to be perfect before you do something,
It won't
then
happen.
it like might never happen. Yeah, or it's like you can never. It's like, oh yeah, okay.
What is it?
Imagine like, okay, I've got a really good job now, and then like we have a kid,
Yeah,
and then I
can
lose my
you
job,
imagine, Isaac?
and then I like lose all my money and lose my job, and then it's like, okay, we're back to square one. So it's like there's always like, you know, you kind of just do what you can, and
Worst case scenarios, yeah, let's go for those.
but then it's thinking all this stupid shit through, and it's like I've met her once and talked to the phone
I
once.
think it might be a
And,
little
like,
bit early.
Right, but then it's like my fucking brain won't shut the fuck up. It just fucking goes forever.
Well,
It's just,
I'm not about to diagnose that for you.
right, my brain just fucking eats itself.
I'm not going to give you a prescription for that one, buddy.
No, so that's what I feel like.
Because
so
I
feel
don't think
okay,
you'll like it.
when I'm working on my projects in the office,
My brain finally feels
Yeah.
silent.
it fucking shuts the fuck up because it's working on something. Or when I read, I can like fucking not think about anything. And so whenever
And when you watch Dungeons and Dragons, you're like, fuck this shit, everything's shit, fuck shit,
It's
shit,
like, no,
fuck.
I can enjoy watching Dungeons and Dragons because I'm analyzing the film as I'm watching it. So I'm like, okay, this doesn't like this bit.
And then it
Yeah.
just keeps talking about how it's shit.
That's the thing. The escapism comes from the analysis of it, not the like getting into the movie. Like, if
Okay.
it was a good movie, I'd get into it. But so it's just fucking yeah,
A good time overall.
yeah. And so I'm just fucking like
Every little bit counts.
I don't know, I'm just like nothing fucking.
Nothing compares.
It's just everything's a fucking drag, grind all the
Oh
fucking
my
time.
god, Isaac, chill.
Like, oh, you want to go out with someone or like meet somebody? It's like, okay, I have to pay
Oh,
fucking
go
money for dating
outside.
apps and,
Ah.
like fucking talk to people and like, oh bloody hell, it's fucking. I just want to
Just
fucking.
kill me.
Try to get an axe and just cut people's heads off, okay? That's all I want to do.
I mean, it sounded like you were gonna blow your brains out earlier, but
I just want to
make others suffer way better.
indulge in my bloodlust, okay?
The name of your next biography.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah, I don't know. I just want to fucking...
Nah, I joke. Right? Wink, wink. The fucking way you...
I just don't know what to do.
Yeah, that does seem to be the crux of the issue.
But it's like I do know what to do, and I go to my office and work on my thing, and I want to do it, and I enjoy it, and it's like I have highs and lows.
But now you're here with me, and now I'm wasting your goddamn time, and nothing's
but
fine
like,
anymore.
I feel it's...
Yes?
Bond is strong.
I don't know, it's like these weird... Basically, the main sort of metaphor or thing I use, or the way I think about it,
Oh my god.
like the way, because I like
but
think
fucking
in,
yeah.
I think in images, right? I don't
Sure do.
think that much. I think more like so much in like
Language
trying to
is just noise.
no, but it's like, I think in both, or like I have these weird things where I'm like trying to figure out a problem, and like I'll start thinking about it, and then
I mean,
my mind will convert it to an image, then the image will like be the new idea, and then I'll like interpret it. It's like, oh, okay. But so, like what I'm explaining is like, so basically,
yes.
my main perspective of like reality and like what the like how I see everything was basically like you know the Truman Show. I don't know. I've probably said this before.
Yes, that's definitely your life.
Right. No, but so imagine the
I
Truman
am
Show, right?
streaming.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And you know, at the end, he finds the fucking stairway and like, okay, I can get out of this fucking dome and like leave. Right.
Oh wait, that's how it ends?
Yeah. He like walks across the wall
I'm
or
kidding.
something, and then yeah. Okay. So he finds it. So imagine. Okay. So you're that. He's like, okay, I find the exit. Right. My whole life is just kind of like pageantry and people pretending, and it's all just sort of nonsense and nothing's serious or real, right? So imagine, okay, Truman Show, he walks up the stairs and okay, I've left. And okay, he walks out the door, right? And then outside the door, it's just fucking desert forever. Right? That's it. So, which do you
That's your
pick?
life at the moment, is what you say.
That's how I saw everything, right? As in like playing a game is like entering like
The desert.
no, it's like these fake like domes of reality. It's like you create these like fake or these kind of like nice little rooms to spend your time, but they're not like real. They're just kind of you've just created place somewhere to like forget the reality of the like infinite fucking desert of pointlessness, right? So that's what it feels like. So everything is just like sand. Like everything is just fucking sand. Like clothes, food, like music, movies, story. Like, everything is just fucking sand you've like put into a different configuration to look like something else. Okay? It's all just fucking nothing, right?
Okay, Aristotle.
Yeah. So that's how I was like seeing everything, right? So like playing like an MMO or like playing a game or reading a book or like working at this job or trying to like it's all just these like fake rooms that are just made of sand just to distract you from the desert because you don't want to go to the desert, right? That was my perspective. Okay.
Desert sounds nice, Isaac.
Yeah.
You should
So
go
then,
there more often.
right. So I went. So it's like okay, the desert. At least it's like real, right?
Is
so,
it?
Well, from that metaphor, right? It's more
Wait,
that like
music was the desert, but video games are
No.
domes?
no, the desert is reality, right? And then everything in reality is just
That's
sand
just
in different configurations.
Yeah, but you also described some things as domes, which is why I'm confused.
Well, as in like, say the Truman Show, it was all a big dome that he lived in.
Yes.
Right. So, like, in terms of like me living in London and working at this place and having friends, and you know, this is my life, and I go to my office every day. That's like a dome that I like live in. To like forget that the desert is the reality, right? So it's like everything is just a construction to trick your mind into thinking there's like purpose in living,
Jesus Christ.
right? When it's not, it's just like the same sand in the desert, just built in a way which like is more nice to look at, right? So that's what it all felt like. So if I moved to like France and just I don't
Well,
know,
you're
did
just a
some
ray
other
of
fucking
sunshine,
thing,
aren't you?
right? Yeah, or if I went, you know, clubbing every night, or if I did this or that, if I did it's like it's all just sand in different configurations, right? That's all
Yes.
it is. And it's the same with like people, okay? So
They're all just sand in different configurations.
everyone, yeah. So everyone is just sand.
Mr.
I'm just sand.
Sandman.
Okay, everything is
Give
just
me a
fucking
dream.
sand. Apart from the only thing that's different.
This woman you met in one day.
No,
Okay. You're marrying
like-
sand?
no. So like the sand, like this can like the configuration of like being a person. It
Uh-huh.
basically generates like the mind into existence, like consciousness, right? So like
Wait, rephrase. What?
so being a human, like this configuration of the sand, like a human, right, allows for the existence of the consciousness.
God, you're starting to sound like a fucking anime villain. Everyone must
okay.
die because we're just
No,
configurations of
That's
sand.
okay. So the only thing in existence that isn't sand, right, is
Is-
like people's consciousnesses,
Okay.
right? Because it's like the specific configuration of the sand allows for the consciousness to exist at that point. Okay. So it's like it's not sand, but it only exists because of the configuration it's made of.
Committing to this metaphor, huh?
Yeah, like like I see it in my head, right? Like I just see it.
I believe that's a disorder.
Yeah, it probably is. Okay. So, in my thinking, right, it's like the only thing that sort of is worth exploring or kind of interesting or I care about or want to like know more about or interact with is like my consciousness with other people's, right? That's kind of
Okay.
all I see as like the reason to exist, right? So because everything is just fucking sand,
Who says there aren't bad
apart
guys still
from
alive and wandering?
like
But
people's
why
own
would
minds.
sand in a different reconfiguration matter? That's how
do
you
you mean?
describe them. You describe them
Yeah,
as
but no,
just sa-
but yeah. So like you're sand, but because in your specific configuration it allows for the generation of the consciousness. So the consciousness is like a new existence that's like facilitated by your configuration. So the way I
Okay.
see it is imagine you've got like a person made of sand, and then like in their
Yes,
mind there's
me,
this like
yes.
there's this like glowing white sort of orb
Oh.
or something, right? Which is the fucking consciousness, right?
Isaac, aren't we all just cum
Yeah, basically.
when you think about it?
Giant sperm.
Aren't we all the boy who lived because we're the sperm that won?
So, yeah. So, from my perspective, right?
Huh?
So, in my mind, it's like the only thing that I find any sort of drive to do would
Yes.
be to like connect with someone else on like a proper level, which would be like, you know, like, you know, like dating somebody, marrying, like, you know, having a relationship with somebody, right? And also like friends, depending on how well you connect out and can talk.
Yes, you almost slipped there. Good job.
Yeah. But then it's like I can talk to you different than I can talk to like anybody else. So it's like
So
different.
I am peak marriage material.
No, because again, that's the
Oh,
issue.
fuck you too then.
This is the issue, right?
Yeah.
The in terms of like the future and like what you should do with your life, right? And the only thing about like this sort of external sort of purpose, it's like facilitating the continuous existence of consciousnesses. So having kids allows for more consciousnesses to come into existence.
Jesus Christ, what a way to view the world.
Okay, so it's like I want to connect with someone else, but I also feel like it's a good thing, and I like the idea of like this consciousness continuing to exist. So it's not just that I want my own kids, it's like I want humanity to exist, right? Okay. And so that was how I was like seeing reality, right? So that's why I was like looking, you know, to date someone or like find somebody or whatever. Like more, like I was sort of caring about that a lot, trying to do that. But then basically there's this like other thing. So you've got the desert, right? And then all there's like everything's fucking sand, but people have consciousness and stuff. But then there's also a fucking like.
You're describing this like you're writing a goddamn book.
Yeah, that's how I see it. Okay. But then basically I started seeing that there was like a gateway in the desert,
Take it easy.
right? Like a door.
Okay.
It's like it's made of sand, like the fucking doorway or whatever.
Like
but it's
everything
like
else in this
it's-
cold, cruel world.
Yeah. But it's like a black portal. It's just like a fucking
Uh-oh.
empty door. It's like a black
I don't like the
doorway.
way you said black, Isaac.
Okay. Which for me is like it's basically like death. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah.
like basically even if but this like doorway would follow me around. It would like always be behind me no matter where I went. So it's like if I was like trying to connect with somebody, or if I was, you know, in the desert but like trying to talk to people, or visiting one of these like fake domes to try and distract myself from like the pointlessness of reality, it's like I'd always feel like there's this fucking doorway like right behind me that I could fall into at any moment,
Fall
which
into,
is like
okay.
which is like death, like I'm gonna die, it's like it's
Sound like would fall there based on the creaking of the chair. My God.
yeah, so it's like all I could think about was even if I connect with somebody, like there's nowhere, like the end, the journey of my life, I've already know what the ending is. It's this like doorway, the death, which is like
Well, at
right
least
in-
make
like
the path interesting.
well, no, there's no path. The door follows you. There's no direction.
Okay, never mind then.
You've already reached the end point, right? So now you're just like waiting in the lobby to go in, right? That's what it feels like. It's like, okay, death is the end, and it can come at any point, and so there's no path anymore. It's just, you're just kind of waiting around until you die. In terms of like if you're trying to find a direction to go in the desert, there isn't one because you've already reached the end of it because the doorway's always there, right? So that's how I was seeing everything. It was like I want to connect with somebody, and I see that this is the only sort of valid thing I can like direct my life towards. But then, in terms of going forward with my life in the future and progressing, it's like I've already found the end. So there's no like path or direction to go because I've already gotten to the end, right? Because I'm gonna die. So I know what the ending is, right? So for me, it was like, so you imagine you're just in a desert on your own, the desert is infinite, and there's nowhere to go apart from these like fake, sandy domes that are just like fake bullshit, and it's just sand. And then, if you want at any moment, you can just turn around and walk through a fucking door and die and be gone, right?
Yeah, how'd you like those options?
So that was how I was seeing reality. Okay.
Okay. How do you measure it as real?
Well, it was more like that. It was a metaphor for how I sort of tried to like determine how I would do anything, or what was the point of doing anything.
So how you measure its accuracy is your response to it.
When you say measure its accuracy, you mean like how true it is?
Yeah.
Well, it's just how I would. It's like how I felt. And
That's what I mean.
Yeah, like the
It feels
reasoning.
real.
Yeah, it feels like the perfect metaphor to describe what I feel and how I see reality, like how I think about things, right? But basically, there was a point where. So I was looking at this doorway, right? It's like, if I step through it, I die, right? It's like death, okay? But I was basically, where I've said before, where like the images sometimes just sort of go ahead. Like I don't think, like I might not have a thought where it's like, oh, what if I did this or what if I did that? It's like I'll see the thought as an image first and then like understand it afterwards. So
Sure.
I pictured the desert and me in the desert, and then I like walked into the doorway in the desert, right? And I just came out the other side, and the doorway was still there. And like no matter how many times I went through it, nothing happened. Right? It was still like black from both sides. It's like you can't see through it, but like if you step through it, you just go through it. It's just like a black screen basically, and you just walk through. Nothing happened. You don't die. I didn't die when I went through it. I just walked through it.
But you walked through the door of death? What do you mean?
Yeah. So I just walked through it and came out the other side, and it was just the same door. Like it's the door's like.
You're Harry Potter. You're the fucking boy who lived. What the fuck is this?
Right. So I had that thought, and I'm like, why does this make sense in my head? Right. I'm like, okay, so the door is like. Is it death or like, okay, so the door in my mind is still death, right? The door, okay, but it's like it's
but
not.
it's the good death. It's the little death.
Like it's not like something I can
rebirth.
accidentally like fall into, right? It's like when I'm gonna die, that will be where I go, right? But when I'm like, it's not my time to die, and I walk through it, nothing happens. So it basically transitioned from it's not this like impending doom of like there's the fucking cliff edge behind me all the time, and if I like do something wrong,
One slip of Isaac.
Yeah, I'll just turn backwards, trip backwards by accident, and just die.
Oh, better watch out for banana peels, Isaac.
Yeah, and so but then what happened is it's like the doorway became fixed in a location. It doesn't follow me around anymore. It's like. It basically has a location now. Like I know it's there, so when I die, I'm gonna go through it, right? But it's not like following me around where I feel like death is like I'm gonna die soon, right? I don't feel like I'm gonna die at any moment, or like I'm at risk of like the end being like right behind me. So I had that like vision of like me basically like. Sort of jumping back and forth through this doorway and kind of just like nothing happening, and the doorway kind of like fixing itself into the ground, and then now it doesn't follow me around anymore. And so it's like I feel like I can.
Are you saying this has been some sort of journey?
Yeah. So, but then now I feel like. I can almost like try and enjoy the desert, or like try and find someone to connect with, or like connect with people, or like enjoy, like live my life now, because it's not like I understand what reality is, And I understand that I want to like, you know, connect with somebody and have relationships and stuff.
Mhm.
And I want to like, I care about, you know, I like humanity and I want humans to continue existing. And
Hot take, but okay.
yeah, I know. And so like, it's like I don't feel this like sort of like I'm scared of
Impending doom.
death, right, anymore. Like I know it's gonna happen, but it's not like it's following me around. It's not like, oh shit, like I could die any second.
Accept death and you might yet survive, Isaac.
Right, exactly. So it's there, and I know it's there, but then, so in this weird way, it's almost like I can almost like build my life around it in a weird way. Where it's like, because I know it's there now, I can like not
One way to draw
look at it or avoid it. I can sort of walk away from it and sort of not pay attention to it. Because it's like there in a location. But like I'm gonna have to go there when I die and like walk through it, but then it's not like a Grim Reaper following me around.
Would have been way better though.
Our bond is
Yeah.
strong.
So it's like that's what it feels like so now I feel like I've like detached from like everything. Completely like in a sense of I don't care about like clothes or food or music or like art or like everything
You mean
is just
hedonism?
like everything is just sand. Like sex, everything is just sand. People are just fucking sand.
I think I watched that movie. I believe it was 40-Year-Old Virgin where he said sex is sand.
Yeah, it's like tits feel like bags of sand.
What? Huh?
Tits feel like bags of sand.
Yeah,
That's what.
that's what I said.
Yeah. But then it's like, what I want is that like connection with the mind, like the kind of consciousness, or you know, feeling like, I don't know, like someone cares about you or knows you or whatever. All these like whatevers.
But what does that feel like, Isaac? How do you know when you found it?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I don't know. So like that is the goal. That's kind of, it's more like that's my main goal instead of like for me to make all these like TV show ideas I have and movies and things. It's like the point of them is to better express myself, to make it easier for me to communicate with people, to be able to connect better with these people and help other people and that sort of stuff. So it's the whole drive I have for doing anything now is like realigned to this wanting to like connect with people and like
Easy money.
have relationships and sort of feel like I'm like someone that people like or people want to like know me and things. I don't know, it's hard to explain exactly.
You're trying to become a cult leader is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I'm like
You want everyone's admiration.
I want to basically be Jesus, right?
And
That's
that's why you want the child, like the bad
Yeah.
guys said in Dungeons and Dragons. Having a kid makes you feel very godlike.
Exactly.
Having a child
So-
look up to you that you can mold and shape as you desire.
Exactly. Mold the sand.
That's why you didn't like the Dungeons and Dragons movie. It felt too accurate, like an autobiography. You didn't like what it said about you. Yeah, thank you.
Right. So it's like
Yes.
it's nice to have this like complete sort of detach from everything and then like sort of reattach in sort of a different way. Just like I don't give a fuck about I need to like sleep with loads of people or like I want to, you know, do this and that and be cool and like, you know, everyone love me and blah, blah, blah. It's like like I don't give a shit sort of about having things.
What's the difference between
or-
that and genuine connection?
Well, again, that's another thing where I thought of basically because I kind of explained when I was on that date. I said that I don't really care about things, you know, like clothes and money and whatever.
And she was very, and everyone clapped.
Yeah, well, but
Sorry.
then I said to her, but like I like dancing and art and music and doing stuff and whatever. So it's like, you know, I like to do things, but I just don't like having loads of possessions. And then
Monk
basically,
mode engaged.
but then I thought about if I'm like trying to connect with somebody, right?
Too
Because
much work.
from my perspective of myself, there's a separation between like mind and body, right? It's like I can hear all my own thoughts. I know my own. Like I have the internal monologue. I like understand, or like I can feel all my own thoughts and feelings, right? But you can't do that just with someone else, okay? So the only way that they can express their like mind or internal self to you is through like ways they express themselves. So like speech, like body language, actions, how they like dress, what they do, what they make, the art they make, etc., etc., etc. So again, in the same way, it's like I have to do that, assuming that that's how everyone would read me, right? Because so I basically have to be like a person made of sand, right? I have to like make an effort to like create this like this like version of myself which I think is like, you know, illusionary, this fucking like sand fucking man, even though I know it's just pointless fucking sand. It's like the only way people can like connect with me is through that way, because we can't read each other's minds, right? So the only way that I'm ever going to understand anyone else, they're going to understand me, is like how I communicate my mind to them, which is done through different ways, like art and talking and actions, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, I kept thinking like, I want to like separate as much from things as possible and just kind of
A fateful
be, I just want to connect with somebody, like personality, mentally wise. But it's like the only way to do that is through like talking and actions and physical stuff.
Sure.
So like the thing I thought was useless and like pointless is like the only way that I would be able to connect with somebody, because they
Yes.
can only they can't read my mind, so the only way they can interpret my mind is through my physical actions and words and blah blah blah.
Wow, Isaac, you solved it.
Yeah, so it's like of like, okay, so this fucking shit is pointless, but because it's not a perfect system, and like
What are you imagining in your head right now? The ending to Evangelion? Everyone's around you clapping. You did it, Shinji.
no, I'm imagining like having to try and figure out ways to better show other people myself. Because like I don't really give a fuck about my clothes. I'm just like, you know, black t-shirt and whatever, and like jeans and
In the
shoes.
summer,
Well, whatever. Like I don't invest in like a nice wardrobe of clothes that I feel like represents myself well, because I think, oh, you know, clothes don't mean anything, right? Because why would you judge someone on their clothes? And so it's like it's
because
kind
it's
of
quick and easy.
right. So it's like, but then it's me more thinking like I need to think harder and put more effort into how I present and communicate myself to other people,
Sure.
which is hard because I'm used to not having to
Are,
ever like.
are you gonna do that to their clothes, or what's your plan? here,
Maybe
mister?
it's like it just depends. I don't know. Depends on the money.
Weren't you
'cause
gonna
it's-
dress like fucking Lucha Libre Malganes? Wasn't that the plan?
Hell yeah. Libre. Yeah. So it's this kind of like going along with the system, because that's kind of
That humanity is decided for you, Isaac? God, what a tool.
yeah. So it's like picking.
Isaac,
the
you don't play
fucking-
by other people's rules. You make your own.
I have to- well, that's the other part of the metaphor. It's like, do I go into one of these fucking sand domes and like live in there and sort of follow the rules, or do I make
Yes.
my own fucking sand dome, even though I know it's like fake bullshit?
Oh, that's called the red pill, Isaac.
Yeah. Can I just take all the pills at once and just fucking see what happens?
That's an overdose, but okay.
Like blue, black, red. What other ones are there? I never. What is black pill?
I don't think that's what the LGBT flag was, Isaac. I don't think there's black and blue and red.
No, but that's the pills though in the zeitgeist. It's the different pills, isn't it?
I don't actually know. Do the purple pill.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
I thought blue pill is like what? Like a liberal. Red pill is conservative, I guess. I don't know what black pill is.
Vaguely.
Is it like some sort of like Buddhist shit? I don't know.
No, black pill just means that you're nihilist. Don't believe in anything. Fuck all the beliefs. All the
Wikipedia.
pills are wrong.
Black pill ideology. Fatalist set of beliefs.
That's
Black
basically
pill
what I said, but thank you.
Commonly held beliefs in the incel communities, which include biological determinism, fatalism, and defeatism for unattractive people. Okay.
So that's one you're picking, huh?
Well, I want to
That's relevant to the conversation, actually.
Yeah. Well,
Funny that.
But then I don't, because like for me, it's like I know that it's like I'm the problem because it's like I'm not communicating myself as well as I want to. You know what I mean?
And where does that
Which is
get
the
you, huh?
insult. Well, like trying to improve it, and because what the goal is, I want to connect with somebody, so I have to communicate with them, and the ways to communicate are talking, actions, language, blah blah blah, all these different things. So it's like I have to be good at presenting myself and communicating myself to other people.
Isaac, I still recommend just finding a sugar mama. She can
I know,
handle
I'm
the
trying.
money, and then you can still figure your life out like
I'll be a
this.
stay-at-home dad, okay? And work
Yeah,
on
yeah.
my
Listen,
project.
you're good at one thing, okay? It's going to the gym at the moment, so just keep.
Yeah. That, I am doing. I did that today. It's fucking.
Exactly.
pain.
So if you just go into that hardcore and give the correctly the finger guns, you're in. You got.
Pow pow. But then
Exactly.
it's fucking cost of living crisis. No one has any money. Sugar mamas don't have the money now.
Well, you see, that's their problem, okay? Yours is just finding somebody who does have it. Or is telling me that nobody has it.
Profoundly sexist ideology that amounts to
Yeah, that's your pill.
rejection
That's
of
definitely
women's
your pill.
sexual emancipation, labeling women shallow, cruel creatures who will choose only the most attractive men. I thought black people was something else. I thought it was completely different. I thought it was like this kind of Buddhist, like idea, like disconnect from reality sort of thing. It's like it didn't care about like women and anything. It was just like be a nice, be a strong man and the kind of stoicism. That's my impression of what Black Pill was. But
Okay.
it just seems like fucking incel shit. Like women are fucking animals.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
Jesus. What pill should you? What's blue then?
What? That's just treating women like human beings. Not playing these fucking mind games.
Yeah.
Alternatively, you overdose and it's, all women are queens or whatever.
Yeah. What's white pill? Or white
It's
pill believing that forces like the internet will lead to more independent thought.
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
White pill is just whatever the fuck a random person thinks is the enlightened stance that doesn't align with anything else.
I had a thought about like an argument with like abortion and sort of like trans people's like perspective of like trans people and stuff. Because it's like
What, huh?
no, I'm like I just thought so like how a lot of conservatives are like they don't want abortions because they believe like birth is conception, right? It's like the life begins at conception, right?
Yes.
Time to go.
But then
I'm with
every
you
like
so far.
but then every human starts as female. But then if they're a man, they turn from female into male.
You mean morphologically?
Yeah, like the kind of.
No, genetically they don't start that way. What do you mean?
Don't they? But don't they? Isn't there like a point where it's like they're the same and then they transition, like from
Yeah,
birth?
but that's what I mean. Morphologically, like they basically start out with a vagina, then the vagina seals, and then you have.
So then does that? So does
balls
every
and
is
testicles.
every man then trans?
Committed to memory. Yeah.
What?
So
Depends
like,
on how the fuck you want to frame this.
that's what I mean.
Like,
So it's
I
like an
don't-
argument against these like conservatives, where they say, okay, so life begins at conception, thus they must accept that every man was a woman.
No, because they keep fucking trying to find the most like rigid, non-useful. Nobody actually does this definition of a woman, where it's like, oh, it's the carrier of the XX chromosome. And it's like, okay, but you've never looked at a woman, second guessed yourself, and gone, sorry, mate, I'm gonna have to see your chromosomes. Like that's not what you do. So clearly you don't believe this. I can see it in your actions. Fuck off.
Yeah. But also, there could be a nice like point to like use against people. I don't like it could. I don't know if it's like a where you could use it in an argument to kind of like fluster conservatives or something.
And I like how that's your priority, not convincing.
Yeah, I thought, well, like,
Whom
but
could say fluster?
It's more like this, like it's like they accept one logic, thus they must accept another. If they like,
Isaac, have you met a human being? Do you know how many contradictions they carry
know,
at any
but-
given time?
but it's like, but then being able to throw their own contradictions at them is the goal, right? To make them
Yes.
question their decisions.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
if they believe that life begins at conception, then everything that happens from that point is like the life of that thing. And then if every human transitions from like female to either male or stays female, then all men are trans. So then trans is a real thing. So then it's like,
But you haven't even you haven't even given your own fucking definition as to what trans even is.
I
You
don't
just
know.
say
No,
all
no, no,
men are trans.
I'm trying to like develop a kind of gotcha for like conservatives.
Okay, good
It's like a
luck.
it's like a
God bless.
counterpoint to,
Godspeed.
like, life begins at conception. And then you'd be like,
Got
oh,
him.
you're trans then. And then you're like, huh? Got him. We got him.
This is fucking on par with fucking Steve Jobs died from ligaments.
Yeah.
That's the level of conversation you're fucking operating with here.
Yeah, I want to do this. Like, that'd be so good though. Because they're like, they just make that point. It's like life begins at conception, and then you can just be like, okay, you're trans.
Checkmate, atheists.
Bing bang boom.
Therefore, trans.
Therefore, you're trans. Therefore, rights are trans right. I don't know. Just like-
Rights are trans rights.
I'm trying to like find a starting point.
Your rights are trans rights.
Yeah. It's like you can't say that.
It's like you're
You got
confusing. It's like you're confusing the LGBT flag with the communist one. I can't
Yeah,
tell what the
it's like
fuck's happening.
They can't defend. Like, if they're going to defend no abortions, then they have to also, like,
Defend these nuts.
no, they also have to like be fine with supporting like trans reality, like the reality of trans people, because they are trans themselves, because they were a woman, because in their life they at one point were female, because
Okay.
life begins at conception.
It's like-
Because that's from their own standpoint.
He brought to have fisted one fucking statement in there.
Yeah. Because it's like that's their argument when they're like, okay, abortion, we shouldn't have abort because life begins at conception, so you're killing a person by aborting a fetus.
Sure, man, that's great.
So that's their point, right? So like, their
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
Life against that conception. That's their point. Therefore, I must have this in here somehow.
therefore, you are trans. By saying that life begins at conception,
I almost
you now
fucking
become trans.
choked on my board. Never do that again. Fuck me. Oh my god.
Any chance? Do all
Oh.
humans start?
Like, oh my fucking god! I felt like I water bended in my throat in order to not like put that down the wrong pipe. Holy shit!
Fe- all genitalia are phenotypically female.
God, I need to properly learn what the term phenotype actually means.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know what the fuck. And that's the thing, you can be like, okay,
Pheno what?
you can go to a guy and be like, if you're not trans, then why do you have nipples? Right? That's what you say to them, because nipples don't make sense on men, right? Then you
Oh,
must
you're
have
not
been a woman.
trans. Fucking explain your nips.
You got nipples. You got your trans. Okay.
Oh my
Technically,
fucking god!
yes.
I'm dying. I'm hicking because of what you did to me.
Fact, myth. All mammals start as female. Myth. All mammals mammals don't start as females. They start as a blank slate with a code. And for 5 to 6 weeks, only the X genes express.
To a life of war.
Oh,
Then, when the Y gene starts expressing, it releases testosterone, versus the X gene.
like that's the sort of shit that I've talked about for why, like even using the genetic blueprint as a definition is fucking useless because sometimes the body doesn't follow the blueprint.
Yeah.
It's like because you got those various type of hermaphroditism. Jesus Christ, I'm still struggling after you made me choke. It means that all those things that most people care about when it comes to like sexual dimorphism doesn't necessarily express. Therefore, why care about the blueprints in the first place? It's sort of like you saying this is a car because some dude fucked up and followed like he misread the blueprints. But this is a car even though it has 2 wheels. It's like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, obviously it's not a car. Nobody would use this as a car. You can't call it a car just because some dude had a blueprint that said car.
Yeah.
Nobody does this. What is your life?
Yeah, I guess my argument wouldn't really work because it's like they still have the genetic XY. It's just they start as like a blank slate, which is like identical.
No,
in
no, it's
both.
like the best way of dealing with that is just flat out rejecting and proving like how stupid their definition is in the first place.
I still don't get like the way I see it, right? So
Yes.
all these
Wait,
people are
first,
like,
why should I care?
no, it's like all these fucking they'll be like, okay, what is a woman and blah blah blah. It's like it's just like it means nothing. It's like so if they say, okay, what is a woman? And you go, okay, someone who has fucking X chromosomes or like a vagina or something. It's like
That's the next topic of discussion. What is a useful definition?
yeah, it's like but then it's almost the issue you have is because of the like, conflicting like gender sex thing. Because if like there's two people and they both have a penis, but then like personality wise and like behavior wise and how they exist and do
Ow.
everything, they're like completely different. Like one sort of acts more in a, like stereotypically like male and the other's like female, even though they both have a penis. It's like in the society they want to be treated a certain way or they are treated a certain way based on their behavior, personality, desires and things, right? So it's like it's almost gender as a concept for me it seems almost pointless because it's so vague now that it's like not useful to even use. It's like if like you have two, if you say like, oh, he's a man,
It's
it
like
doesn't
when
mean
something has
anything.
too many exceptions, there's like no point in caring anymore, basically.
But then
So
it's
when you
all-
have so many people who like have certain expectations related to their sexual dimorphism and you just keep breaking them left and right, and it's like why care?
right, it's like a label that's like has no use anymore, right? And like the like the medical terms of like male, female, like penis, vagina, or whatever.
It
like,
has strict functions, like type of
Yeah.
diagnosis. So
it's like diagnosis or like
But
if
even
you
then,
want,
you can like be more
Yeah.
specific. Like you don't have to care
Right.
about the gender. Like you test the hormone levels and say like, okay, these, or you don't say it, it's like based on research that these levels of hormones tend to reinforce certain symptoms there or
Yeah.
exacerbate certain effects. Therefore, you should take them into consideration with the diagnosis. Has a very specific use there. But for
So it's
most
like-
people, like we don't have to diagnose anyone, but people get so up their nose at this shit. It's
But
sort
then,
of tragic
for me,
to look at.
the only other issue thing is like in terms of like sexual preference, in terms of partner selection, it's like
Yeah, exactly. At the,
If
which
I
point
want
it's
a
like, do you
kid-
have the hole that I want? Oh, yeah, that.
it's like if I want my own child, then I have a penis. I want someone with a vagina, so we can have a child, right? It's like
Technically, you want somebody with a functioning womb and fertility, but yes.
right, exactly. So
But
yeah,
like even
yeah.
there, like it can be too restrictive to some people, where it's like, well, this woman isn't fertile; she doesn't serve the function as a woman, therefore you're going to disqualify from the label.
So, but then it's like, how do I? If I want to find a partner, but I don't want to waste people's time, and I want to know,
fucking
like, I want to
Sorry.
know what, like, they, like, if they, it's this, but it's the same in terms of like, if I talk to someone and they don't want children, and I do, I don't need to know if they have a womb or not. You know what I mean? Because it's like the same level of question. It's like, if there's someone who looks like a woman but they have a penis, they look like a stereotypical woman. It's like, I wouldn't want to date them because I want my own children. So I wouldn't want, because that's what I want in terms of preference and goals and whatever. So it's
Sure.
like,
There aren't benefits to a
but it's not like I'm saying they're not this or that. It's like the labels are useless. The labels aren't needed for anything really. It's like, but then it's like, if it's insulting for me to ask somebody who I want, if I want to date someone and I want my own children, and I say to someone, do you have this or not? Do you have a womb?
do you
like-
have a fertile womb?
Yeah, do you have like, it's like, that question can, be rude to people. It's like,
Yeah, because it can be incredibly personal.
right, so then it's, but
Like
I
when there's
need to
because
know.
again, like basically because of what you're saying, like you are looking for this in a person. This is what you find valuable in a person in terms of dating,
Yeah.
and a lot of other people basically gauge themselves that way because of the social pressures. Like, if you aren't fertile as a woman, what value do you have? Is something that people genuinely
Yeah.
ask other women and even themselves, which is of course damaging.
But then because it's like, people have, like, I have a drive because I want children. Like, that's a drive that exists in me. Right?
As it does in a lot of people, yes.
Right. So then it's like, if I could know, but the only reason I want to know, I only want to know if it's like someone I'm interested in, like dating. And then
time to go.
I only want to know for myself. I don't want to like everyone else to know. I don't want to like it to be a huge
Yeah,
thing.
which is why like making it political is so fucking weird.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we all need to be on the same fucking page. That people have the right holes and the right parts, and people are pretending to have something else. Oh, fucking makes me foam at the mouth.
Or it's
Oh.
like, well, they're gonna trick me, or it's like, oh, I'm confused, or like, oh, like. But then it's on both
And
sides. Where
dude,
it's like,
but I'm gonna take it to this fucking point that's fucking tragic because, like, if you see this shit happen in history, like, you see how fucking obvious some of the shit is, where it's like, oh no, it's about the children now. They're all, what the fuck is it?
Danger. corruptible.
Yeah, they're corrupting our children, and apparently all of them are child molesters at the same time somehow. I don't fucking know how that math works out, but.
Yeah.
You know, so long as you scare people into taking it seriously, and the people who are telling them that their fears are unfounded, it's obvious which side they're going to pick.
Yeah.
Scare tactics. That's great.
It's just kind of.
Kind of what? Use the words.
It just seems. It's like labels have a use because they can help alleviate these kind of like if the standards were still there, like the social norms, like anyone with a womb is a female woman, and then everyone with a dick is a man. Like, I don't have to ask, like, do you have a womb and a vagina? Because it's just
Yeah.
like, right. But then
But it's like,
if it's more vague, then you have to have a system that allows for people to
yeah, but
find out.
people solve this. Like, this isn't complicated. You just make the sex gender distinction: male, female, man, woman. There you go, done.
Yeah, like exactly.
One refers to the biological aspect, the other the socio-psychological aspect.
Right.
It's like seeing these fucking discussions that are like using terminology and having a conversation that's like 10 years out of date is just fucking depressing.
It's like because it's almost
It's like, I get that it's counterintuitive for some people, but it doesn't take that long if you just accept certain things. It's just like you're not willing to accept because it's embarrassing how much you committed into this one stupid stance.
yeah, and because I understand where you get this point of view where it's like if you had like a new term for like, okay, what if you just used the terms like male, female, right? But because they're so like interlaced with the gender as well, if you
Like the biological one is like almost strictly distinct. The socio-psychological one has some overlap with the biological because once
Well,
you
that's right.
talk about things in the brain, then it starts
But
getting biological.
I mean, in the point of like, if you have a male,
I'm just saying that the overlap is like one directional.
yeah. So like, if you have a male and they
Take it easy.
present as a woman, or you know, they're a woman. Like, if they they don't want to say or like tell anyone. They don't like the idea of revealing like, I was born a male, or they don't want because what happens or what they think happens or is common is like you're seen as a woman, and then people find out you're born a male. They treat you differently
And
or don't like
your
you.
woman
and-
license gets revoked.
Yeah, right. So it's like
Your license to femme.
yeah. So like that like stigma and like effect on you in terms of like socially and blah blah blah. It's like that. That is the difficulty of where like accepting this kind of like dual identification. It's like my sex and my gender are separate, and so like, but then if they're not aligned, or like it's so it almost creates this like subset in people's minds where it's like they're not a real woman, they're not a real man. It's like, which is like socially and like upsetting for people, right? And it affects people because people have this like way
People
of
have
thinking about people.
Okay. People need a sense of belonging. The sense of belonging has to do with their sense of identity, like how they view themselves and how they need to others to view them. And that's also an area where shit gets complicated for some people because they want to be full-on biologically female. Obviously, they can't. But, it gets them into awkward conversations because people also want to placate them to some degree, but like, there's like some things are just a matter of fact. You can't argue your way around it.
Time to go.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
because you're pushing too hard, you're pushing them out of agreement with you and just ending up like making enemies and pushing them into the right instead.
Yeah.
Hey, did you pay attention to any of the Kyle Rittenhouse shit?
They what?
Kyle Rittenhouse shit.
No, like basically, wasn't it just like he had a gun, he was defending himself and shot people, but people think he just went out to shoot people or something? I don't know. I've not really.
Yeah, and then they said that he was basically a white supremacist. None of the people he shot was black. And then it's like, oh, well, you know, he still shot at innocent people. Turns out one of them was maybe a child molester or some shit. It's like maybe you should have stopped digging ages ago because you're just making your fucking defense, or attack of him, like look worse and worse. And yet somehow enough people believe this shit to basically make his life hell, and I was like pushed like so far right that he only shows up at like conservative shows and Fox Media and shit like that.
So
it was
like he didn't go to
it's so,
prison,
it's so,
he didn't go to jail.
because it was,
no, okay.
well, he probably went to jail because they had to fucking hold him somewhere while they were
Yeah,
investigating.
okay, well, he didn't get charged. Okay.
Yeah, and it's like it looked like he might have had a breakdown at some point, like while he was on the stand, like talking about what happened, because ultimately he still killed people that probably would affect him in some way, and people are just like, oh, look at these fake fucking tears. It's like,
Yeah.
it's kind of disgusting seeing people like jump to those conclusions,
But wasn't there?
like
was there
like how little they try to understand others.
Did he like I don't really know anything about it, but wasn't it like he went to like an active riot with a gun? So like he could have just not gone there, in a sense.
Yes, but none of the rioters had to go there either.
okay.
That's not an argument. Like, what do
Well,
you?
no, that's what I'm trying to remember. It's like he was he looking for trouble in a sense?
Okay, so like, no, like he went there to defend property. I think because if you need to know his fucking origin story as the fucking Batman of the city or whatever, he came from a town that, if I remember correctly, that also had riots, and so much of the property were damaged that people's livelihoods were just like fucked at that point. So he was just like, well, I'm not letting this happen again, so I'm going to go there and defend this property.
Okay. It wasn't his property. It was just like the community's.
No, but it's not the writer's property either. So why the fuck did they get the right to
Okay,
just
yeah.
wreak havoc? Like,
Yeah. Got
it
it.
goes both ways. Like,
Yeah. Got it. Then the rioters wasn't like they feel validated because it was, what was it? It was like the riots on some sort of cop killing or something. Why did what were the riots for?
it was just some Black Lives Matter shit. I'm sure it's even
Okay.
relevant.
But
It's
then
just
it's like from that
some
they
people
feel
are acting
validated
like
to do
absolute
it.
shits. What do you
Yeah.
mean? I don't understand what you're asking.
No, I mean like with the rioters,
Like,
they weren't just. It wasn't just like a
anybody
random
who
riot.
riots feels validated. That's why they're rioting. What do you mean?
No, but it's like there's just a riot and people stealing shit and just because it's opportunity. But then it was like a huge thing of like cops killed innocent person. So I'm thinking more of like people's desire to like hate him and attack him was because they don't see the point of view that like the rioters.
It's because
were-
people see things as black and white. They see some
Yeah.
dude shooting at I mean, they call them protesters. Everybody else calls them rioters. And because they have to support the protesters, they have to be against him. Like, people are
Yeah,
insanely binary in their thinking,
yeah.
which makes it aggravating to look at. But the sad thing is, I don't know when or how you're supposed to teach people to like fundamentally think differently, because that's what they need to. You're not going to get anywhere with it otherwise.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't just explain to you, like, here's what happened, because then people are, like, they just keep looking for excuses. It's like, yeah, but maybe something like this, like, maybe he was deeply racist, which is why he showed up. I was like, okay, but I want to go by the evidence. Like, if you
Yeah.
can show me something that makes him look racist, and I was like, well, he was in a picture with somebody who may or may not have been a white supremacist. It's like, oh, okay, like,
Or, like
is
Elon Musk
that
was
the
in a
line?
picture with Jeffrey Epstein or something.
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
yeah. So it's like, so let's say like you have a white supremacist photobomb you. You're now guilty by association. So I can treat you like shit and say that you should go to fucking jail. Like, what is the logic we're operating with? It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
So that's just still funny. And it's like, how to put this? He didn't seem extremist at all before. Honestly, it's just that.
Yeah. The pick
It's just
side.
like he owned a gun, and I was like, that's about like the worst thing you could say about him. And now it's like, no, he's fucking pushed far right. Well, I need to be careful, like how far do you consider far right? But like I said, like he keeps showing up in these conservative talk shows and talking to right wingers about the weird shit, and he's basically used as a like basically as an example of when the left goes too far. It's like, oh, here we have another poor victim, which is like, it's reasonable. Like when the left does that shit, it makes them look bad. So could you just not make yourself look bad? It's like it's so fucking dumb. It's like I think the most annoying and hardest thing for me isn't like talking to people that I disagree with. It's having idiots that agree with me that make me look bad by proxy. It's like you are making my life so much harder than any fucking body else could possibly do right now. Oh my god.
Yeah. Or it's like the typical thing of like, well, like you said, like they associate, because you're seen to agree with them, other people will associate you with them, and so anything they say, they associate, oh, you probably think the same. Well, that's what you meant.
Yeah,
or...
it's like people autocomplete. That's why whenever somebody is like, oh, what's your stance on this? Or like, what's your political stance? It's like, I would never fucking volunteer that information.
That's what I think, like,
what? Like, why the fuck would I like make it easier for you to just write me up and autocomplete? Like, if I want to have a conversation, you know, maybe I should write them off simply for asking the question. Like, I think I know what your intent is at that point. I might as well save some time and just not even fucking have the conversation at that point.
That's the thing, is like I don't like the idea of labeling myself. It's like, I'm Isaac, a human of Earth. That's it. Like I have no country allegiance.
X2 doubt.
Like I am Sandman of fucking planet desert. That's what I am. But like,
well, that's what it sounded like earlier. Yeah.
So it's like, because I remember like my mum was like, but like, would you call yourself a feminist? And I'm like,
probably not.
well, like probably her version of what a feminist is, yes, but then it's like I don't wanna...
There's a lot of people who have weird associations with that.
Right.
It's like,
so it's like because if you're gonna like blanket define me based on your own definition of something, it's like just tell me an idea and I'll tell you if I agree with it or not. You know what I mean? That's how I want to be.
Not too complicated.
Like, yeah, exactly. So it's like I can't. You just have to say, oh, I'm this or that. So it's like, just fucking tell me an idea and I'll give you my opinion on it. It's like, you don't need all these fucking... Like, again, it's that thing with like gender and whatever. It's like, I'm a man. Well, I'm different from like loads of other men. I'm not this fucking like hyper macho psychopath, like violent motherfucker.
How can you call yourself a man at that point?
Yeah. And I'm not a fucking little simpy bitch either. So it's like, but they're both men. So it's like, what the fuck? How do you? What's the point of the label? Yeah. Bitch.
I'm not a big simpy boy.
Just like sex.
Disgusting, Isaac. Why would you ever volunteer that information?
I know. Yeah. Just fucking useless definitions of bullshit.
Stand with me.
Haha.
So
what you're saying is that you're actually looking for a man.
No. But then I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel about like pronouns in terms of like
Oh god, some of this wacky
enforcement of like saying them wrong. Right. It's like that's my main issue. Is like say I mistake. Oh, sorry, I said the wrong one. Okay, you're fucking fired or you're banned for life from somewhere. It's like
the problem is that some of those slip up is like natural. Like you don't accidentally say the N word, but you might accidentally like say what a dude is like. Excuse me, could you say do that? I don't fucking know.
Especially if it's like tied to the language or it's like common or it's like you're in a state of like. Well, obviously, when I was younger and like growing up, there basically this sort of whole trans everything like was not in my part of my reality, right? It wasn't a known thing for me. It wasn't sort of anything I ever thought about. So it's like, and like there's loads of languages where it's like there's male and female versions of shit, right? Like Spanish and stuff is like.
You
French
mean the grammar?
Yeah. So it's like. This, well, the main one is that if you say they, usually it's about like a group. So it's like they as a group. So if you say someone is they, but then sometimes you do say they if you don't know.
They
so
can be singular, just gender neutral.
Right, exactly.
Which
So
is funny.
yeah.
Like, it's like, but it's like I don't know. Like, It's basically
relearning
meme
a
to shit
habit.
at this point. No, yeah, sure, but like, it's really funny to me how people is like, what are they more than one person? Haha. It's like, do they forget that you got shit like you can be singular and plural? It's like, how do
Yeah, exactly.
how do you like not think about it for more than half of the second that it takes for you to look like an asshole for making this? It's just so fucking save yourself the embarrassment. I don't understand.
It's like, yeah, it's like you say someone says to you, oh, like a name, like, yeah, you can use the they as singular all the time. It's just like a part of the language. So, but you just have to get used to it in terms of
How to apply
if
it?
you
What?
like, well, it's mostly that issue when you're like, say there's someone you know, like
Wherever in
if
this world I roam,
with my mum, and then someone's like,
memories of my
oh,
home.
what does your mum want for dinner? And you say, oh, she wants pizza,
Yeah.
right? It's like that's what you say because you know, instead of saying my mum wants pizza or her name wants pizza, it's like you just say she wants pizza. So
Her name wants pizza.
yeah. So but, like
Sounds
if you're
like
in a
you're glitching out.
conversation and it's like you know someone who is like trans, and you know they're like they like. Or like they're ambiguous, or they're sort of, you know, they're born one way, but then so you slip up and you're like, oh, sorry, like you say he or she, or because you're
Dude, like,
not trained or used to it.
like I don't even. I don't have any trans people in my life, but even like I still like fuck that shit up where I just like
Yeah.
like I half-ass it and instead of saying her or him, it turns into M. It's like I don't know what I'm doing.
But then because it's a case of like, it's not so much that it's intentional from my point. It's like relearning. It's like a way of talking. It's like communication.
Sure.
So if I had learned from the beginning, it's like you by default say they all the time, then you wouldn't have an
wouldn't
issue with
struggle.
it.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you invent like 50 different pronouns, it's like you're never gonna fucking remember them. And then it's almost like,
Maybe you should try.
yeah, but like not in the sense of each person and each one like very quickly, like right off the bat. It's like,
Yeah, but fucking people inventing genders is just
yeah.
it's not helpful.
But then the way I
It's
see
just
it is
people,
like, 'cause,
people are just saying like I want to be associated with a random set of phonetics. Why? Where
but
are you going with
it
this?
ties in with the point of like where I see labels as almost useless. So it's like the issue of pronouns. They don't mean anything anyway. So it's like they would probably be better for everybody just because.
It's like I still fucking crack up at the term autism gender. Who the fuck came up with that? It's like, even, like whether a joke or
Autism
not,
what?
that just that phrase is fucking hilarious to me. Be right back. I need to crack open a window before I crack open a skull. Yes, hello.
What did you
is
say?
I.
Autism something?
Autism gender. It's like, what do you mean?
Oh.
You haven't heard of it. Google it, see what you find. I just heard
Autism
somebody
gender.
say it. I haven't fucking checked out any of the validity around that shit.
So it's
Sounds
a
like a meme,
gender.
but that's what I mean. It's like, how the fuck is that a gender? What do you mean? It just sounds. It's like it's up there with like sexually identified as an attack helicopter. What the fuck are we talking about?
Oh god. That's, how can that be a? I don't know how that could be a gender.
That's what I mean. It's like,
It's like a condition,
gender
isn't it?
gender has an association with sex. As soon as you remove the association, you're just saying I have an identity. It
It's
doesn't.
like the same as saying like policeman or like teacher. You know what I mean? It's like it's a label
What?
for
No,
something.
now you lost me.
And that's how I feel about it. It's like, so if the point of a label is to sort of give information to the person who's like understanding that
Hearing
label,
it. That's the
Right.
point of language. Sure.
well, like labels themselves. So like, if I say man, who's a teacher, who is a Democrat, it's like the goal of that is like you are supposed to infer or like
Oh, you mean an educrat?
yeah. Exactly. So you're supposed to like infer things from the labels, or they want you to
Yeah,
like
sure.
speed up understanding. So like
How the fuck do I get in here?
so like the if you say okay, my gender is this made up one I've just made up, or it's this
That.
other one, it's like I don't have any basis to use that as a interpreter or like a label to understand you better. So it has
Sure.
no function. Like there's no function to it.
Yes. Fuck, I didn't get it.
So it's like languages in terms of their function. It's like
Quietly now.
Yeah, but it's really funny how a lot of people think about language. Like when you have some of these conversations, it's like the second somebody brings up like, oh, here's the dictionary definition, it's like, well, you completely lost the plot. Unless people use it that way, you're not getting anywhere in a conversation. Unless you're planning on bringing this dictionary with you everywhere and presenting it to them before every conversation, this provides no utility.
yeah, it's because the other
It's
thing I
like,
think
for
is
example, the term irony has been bastardized so much, or ironic doesn't mean ironic anymore, or the term literally doesn't mean literally anymore because you can use it as a form of exaggeration. So if you're not prepared for the exemptions, then you're not getting anywhere in the conversation. Like you have to read a little bit deeper. But people like going like, I'm technically correct. Well, if you only want to be technically correct instead of functionally correct, then congratulations to you, buddy. What the fuck victory looks like to you is a little bit tragic, but
because there's also like two ways of thinking where it's like
oh,
you can
they both-
use. It's like you can use labels for yourself
can
to
do
help better like figure yourself out, or like
sure.
you're trying to
With me.
solve your own like.
Words are about communication ultimately, and
Yeah.
that's a very
And, like,
simple
you can-
concept that some people seem to forget.
But it's like in your mind, it's like you use words. You can always like think in words. So it's like
I
you
do.
can, yeah. Well, I think in images as well with most people. But it's like you
You're
can
a freak,
have,
Isaac. You're a
you can
fucking
have
freak.
terms of like if someone like you can use labels to like better sort of figure yourself out, right? Like,
Correct.
okay, how do I see myself? Oh, okay, this or that. And so, but then I think sometimes there's an issue with it's like, say you give yourself a label. Again, it's like you can understand what you're thinking on what you interpret the label means, but then the other person have no idea. So it's
Yeah, so
so it's
what's
all
your
like-
ability
so-
to communicate an idea?
yeah, so it's like almost the labels that used to exist, like man, woman, fucking pointless now almost, unless you just make them about
No,
like
it says no. They have the same level of validity. It's just that it's always been vague, and now
Yeah.
we're trying to like
reassign it
make
to
room
like
for
sex.
the conversation about trans people. So we just make the sex gender distinction to make that shit easier, and people are flipping their shit.
Yeah, it's like they don't want to separate. They don't want to create.
It's like
two
it's like
different
just by
terms.
like making distinctions to make have conversations be easier. People are just like, no, this is ruining the fabric of society somehow.
Yeah,
You can't even begin to have the conversation.
Time to go.
it's like 'cause there's that fucking guy. I can't remember his name. He's all over YouTube, and he's like, "What is a woman?" And he goes around asking everybody. That guy with like glasses and the fucking beard.
Oh yeah. Fuck.
You know what I mean?
Matt something.
Yeah, Matt something. But so it's like, what is a woman?
I recently saw Destiny's video on it.
Yeah.
That's
And
the
so
only reason I know about
it's
it.
like, it's an easy question, right? It's like, but he's basically what he's trying to do is, the woman means female.
Yeah, that's what he's trying to get at.
That's
or
like,
like
he's trying to force that
or
opinion.
because there's people who have that definition. They're like somehow superior in this conversation. They're the more intellectually enlightened. Because if you have people who don't leave any wiggle room, that's somehow the appropriate way of dealing with things. So if you have a complicated subject or conversation, instead of addressing the complexity or leaving room for discussion around it, you just need to be as rigid as possible, and that's more helpful, and definitely the enlightened stance.
It's like, for me, it seems like this similar thing of like, imagine if I say, I was like going around
It's
saying,
like, that's why the conclusion that conservatives are evil is fine, you know, because what is a conservative? They're evil. There you go, done. Fuck you.
yeah. It's like, imagine if I went around saying like, okay, if you use the term artist, it has to be someone that paints in oils. Like, it can't mean a musician or an actor or like.
I
the
see you
j-
too like using definitions decades out of date. A true conservative.
So it's like, if I went around saying, what is an artist? And someone's like, someone who creates things. Like, no. An artist is someone who fucking paints in oils, motherfucker. It's like, okay. But so what, so we just use different words. Okay, we'll use musician and we'll use actor. And it's like, it's like that level of kind of...
Doesn't an artist art?
Yeah, but, and so that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to like force this, like, the word woman must mean female. Okay, so
like,
what should we use for like
you-
trans people, like feminine guys, or like what do you like? Femme? Should we just call like masculine, feminine then? Okay. So hi, my
Sure.
name's John. I'm feminine male. That's how I introduce myself. It's like
Female.
yeah. So if he's basically trying to determine what the definition of this word should mean, then we just make a new word for what everyone else is trying to do, right? Like, you can have a sex and you can have a,
Matt
societal...
Walsh? Matt Crenshaw?
Yeah,
Matt
Matt Walsh,
Walsh. Yeah.
Matt Walsh. So it's like, doesn't, like, he's just fighting over a word that's like, it's... You're
That's
just
what?
trying to define, trying to, like, fix on the definition of something. But it doesn't remove the need for a definition of the other thing. You know what I mean? It's like, if you define a woman as having... the chromosomes in a vagina. It's like, then all trans people are gone now. They're just whatever they were at birth. But it's like it doesn't, but in society and how they behave and act, it's like they're treated differently because of how they present and want to be treated. And
Yeah, but at least
How
now
they
you don't
act.
have a word for it. So
Yeah.
it's the New York attitude. Like, so long as you don't see the problem isn't there. Therefore, if you can just make it so hard for homeless people to live there that they just end up as corpses, that's problem solved, baby.
it's like homeless means someone who doesn't own a home. So then technically I'm homeless because I don't own a home. I rent, right? So then, like, homeless people that live on the streets, they don't exist. They just choose to live on the street. So you don't need to help homeless people. Or like, let's help homeless people, everyone.
Based.
And then it's helping homeless people is like funding me to buy my own house when I can afford rent.
Time to go.
That's what it feels like. It's like
I'm
you're
sorry, what's the
trying
problem?
you're trying to get rid of a problem by like
Isaac, don't you
changing
want
its
money?
definition or something. It's like really fucking weird. That's what he's trying to do. It's like we can get trans people won't exist if we just make sure that anyone who says woman means vagina.
We'll define them out of existence.
Yeah. It's like you can't say you're a woman now. Haha. It's like, okay, well I'll just call myself a trans woman then. Like I still exist. You know what I mean? It's like I don't not exist anymore. It's just the label is different, which means nothing. It's just another label to facilitate communication. So you've not fucking changed anything. You just fixed the definition. Wow, great.
Based.
Like didn't do anything.
Isn't that what you want?
It's just like a
I mean,
thinly veiled thing. It's like I don't want trans
That is
people
what they
around.
want. They want nothing to change. That's why they're doing it.
Yeah.
That's correct. They want nothing to change, yes.
Yeah.
Let's play Pretty Little.
I kind of wish I could like debate these people.
Same. Think it would be fun.
Just it'd be so like just
Isaac, hook me up. I've been trying to get in contact with Destiny for ages now.
can't you just send him a donation? Hey, bruv. But would you want to debate
from a
Destiny?
keyboard.
Don't you kind of agree with most of his stuff or not?
Yeah, sure, but
I saw-
who can?
I watched one of his videos and it was kind of weird.
You
Like, I
did?
I didn't really like. There was one where it was him and a woman recently talking about like consent and like this kind of. I kind of was not really getting his point of view. Or his point of view seemed kind of like odd to me, where it was like, should like when a woman tells you to like stop, like you should stop. But then he was like, not always.
Oh, I think I saw that one. No, it's
trying to remember.
he's just saying that there's more to consent than just saying no.
Yeah. So like I'm trying
And
to.
also, part of the problem is that even though a man technically should just accept no as a no or just whatever the fuck, and stop pushing completely. Too many women apparently play games where it's like, oh no, I want it. I just want to be seen as a slut. Therefore, I'll keep going back and forth and play footsie with
That's
the
another-
possibility
yeah.
of rape, which is, you know,
Yeah.
dangerous territory. But hey,
That's another thing. It's like that issue of like game playing or kind of this sort of they want like if you want to be clear about everything and like, okay, yes is yes, no is no, and kind of everything has to be, you know, consented in terms of like verbally and whatever, and more like communicated. It's like if you want that, then you have to be more better at communicating yourself. Because normally it's like guys approach women and blah blah blah. It's like there needs to be some level of like I don't know, like better kind of
Time to go.
what is it?
conversations.
No, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's like
Take your time, sweetie.
it's more like I don't know if it's. I might not even be specifically women. Probably it's just that idea of like if you want something, say it, or if you're like
Yeah.
open to it, or you're fine with something happening. It's like just
Like
communicate it easier.
I've said this,
don't
like
just
I
wait.
advocate for directness because I have so
Yeah.
little, like such little patience for bad communication. It's like people, how to put this? I like playing with words. I like saying things in I don't know, fancy ways, so to speak. But I don't trust most people to be able to do that shit properly. So I don't have the patience for it in most people.
Brings a smile to
So it's like if you prioritize like telling me a joke, but you weren't really joking and you're trying to like communicate something with me, and then I misunderstand. Like I don't have any sympathy for it. It's like you had your chance to communicate appropriately and you prioritize the joke. Fuck you. Fuck.
Yeah. Or it's like you get things where you kind of a lot of I think it's just women. It's just like people. It's like they haven't communicated something.
Everyone,
Like, so for example, someone I was just like hooking up with is like the way they get in the mood is like if like you put them in the mood, right? They want to be like, you know, turned on, right?
a fateful.
But like
I was about to say the mood slayer.
right, but it's like they never communicated that ever, right? So it's like
Sorry, say it again. They wanted to be put in the mood.
yeah. So like if I just walked up to them and said, "Are you in the mood?" They'd be like, "No," right? But
Yeah. Now I remember
I
this
could
shit, yeah.
turn them on, right, and then they would be in the mood. But they never like that was never something I knew, right? Explicitly, like
You never realized that the turning of ons was an option.
or it wasn't. It wasn't a case
So
of
fuck the
like
attempt.
it was like
Hey,
the
someone
temp-
need to
what-
ask the meta question. Do you want
Yeah.
me to turn you on right now?
it's this kind of
Do you
like,
consent to being put in the mood?
but it wasn't. It was more about like the. It was completely one-sided. It's like I'm the one who always has to instigate everything.
Yeah, you told me about that, and that just feels
So-
tiring.
So, but then it's like, but then imagine you don't even know that that's the case, right? So, if you were like, you like to be, I don't know, like flirted with, or you like this kind of like little bit
Disgusted.
of back and forth before you like have sex, or like you get turned on more by communication or talking or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like if you knew that, then that's kind of how you would approach it. But then if you didn't know that, it's like you think, okay, sometimes she wants to sleep with me, sometimes she doesn't. I don't know why. She just kind of seems like up and down.
Pickle woman.
And but then it's like because you don't know this aspect, you
By
can't.
the way, are
act
you
on it.
sometimes on the stream?
Not really. No, I haven't opened it today.
Okay. It's just you usually just do random shit like open it up sometimes?
I've opened it just now. But,
Okay, whatever.
I've randomly opened it sometimes just to see if like people have chatted in your chat, and like I skip through to see if anyone's like talked to you.
Why?
But I just see if you've got viewers, because it's like you can't trust the numbers because they always say 1 or 0 or something.
Dude, you count as -1. Of course it's confusing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the number of times you've been on there and then you don't count and then you leave and it's like, I went from one to... I had 2 viewers, now I have 0 and
Yeah,
sub-0.
exactly. Yeah, so it's this kind of like, but then obviously you don't want people don't want like spontaneity and kind of subtlety and flirting and sort of, you know, passion to sort of dissipate, because if you've just like described everything and sort of know everything and like everything's very standard and you know all these like how to sort of get in the mood and what, like they want
Surely enough
some
to
level
convince
of
anyone to become a wanderer.
like emotion, passion, spontaneity. They don't want it to be
Disgusting.
structured, so structured
Yes.
and like understood. But then it's like,
Yeah, a lot of people feel like a level of directness or clarity is like unromantic.
yeah,
It's like taboo to be clear about what you want.
yeah, which is like really frustrating. It's like,
It's stupid on so many levels.
but then you know, if it's like the understanding allows for the spontaneity, because say with someone it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
but
so
there's
there's
different levels of understanding. Like you can understand
Yeah.
what the type of person they are without understanding.
So,
the...
so say for
situation
example, in
itself.
general, you understand that in terms of like sex and physical things, they like the idea of
Yes.
like they like like the main sort of feeling and sort of atmosphere and interaction they like is feeling that you find them so attractive that like you kind of can't help yourself.
You
Like, you're
can't
so
contain your.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're like- you're
it overwhelms you. You become
Yeah.
a fucking feral beast.
you're so like turned on by them that it's like you kind of, they like to feel that you're sort of just hungry for them, right? So imagine
Yeah.
imagine like that's like this like
Again, playing with the risk of rape. It's a little on
no,
the line.
yeah. But then, so say that's like the main sort of psychological thing that they like, right? That turns them on. Okay. So if you knew that, right, it's like you can
Act accordingly.
let that out, but still be aware of like listening and sort of like looking for cues in them if they're not in the mood for it now, or they say stop, or you can
Yeah,
read
but
them.
if you know that it's not adequately rapey
Right.
enough, I don't know.
But yeah, but then if you don't know that their main thing is like they want to feel like you're so lustful for them that it's like you're like really like not aggressive but sort of, you know, like passionate or whatever. Like if you don't know that, and like the only time you ever really like that where you sort of have a bit less control or you're a bit more like forward is when you're like drunk or drinking. It's like you could completely mismatch or not understand. It's like, oh, she only seems to want to sleep with me when we're drinking, so we should drink more.
Do that, yes.
So it's like, but it's not the same. So you have all these weird like, but if you knew that aspect, you could be more spontaneous with where you do it, because it's like you can allow yourself to enter that set frame of mind where it's like you can sort of be lustful for them and like understand and sort of follow cues and know what to do and still read them and know if they want to do it and not be kind of drunk and like sort of not really understanding why it's better or they like it more when you're drunk. You know what I mean? So
No,
it's
I
that
think I
kind
lost
of.
you.
It's,
I think you said the same point so many times. I can't
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
if you went over to a different one.
no, it's the same point. It's just it's that like lack of. It's communicating like core ideas, which is like important because they allow for like a foundation for you to sort of play around with them. It's like, someone could say, "Oh, I like getting slapped," but like they like getting slapped because it feels like it's like they like to feel like they're being punished because da 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 da. So it's not so much they like getting slapped; it's that they like being punished, right? So
Sure.
you could
So if you have
do
a
something else.
deeper understanding, then
Yeah,
you
so,
can
like, you could,
do more with that
like
information.
you could tie them down, or do something else. That
Or you keep
makes
calling them a naughty girl. Ooh.
Yeah, or like so you could make them feel like they're being punished, which isn't slapping.
I wonder how much of that is developed from daddy issues. Like, it just sounds fucking...
I don't know. It's hard to say. But
It's like, how
I
do
think,
you develop the fetish for punishment? Like, you have to encounter that somewhere early in your life in order to be like, you develop the idea like, yes, there's something about punishment. It's like,
well, you could like punishment because you like the idea of being naughty because you're so used to like being,
oh, yeah, that's true. No.
like you're
It's
not
like a sense
confident.
of release.
Yeah, like say you're not confident. So the idea of being punished for something means you've like broken rules, which means you're like
Yeah,
confident enough
it's,
to
it's
break
sort
a
of like
rule.
the BDSM psychology shit where some people have so much responsibility that they would like to have none during sex, so they're just super submissive, or the other way.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
yeah. So, but then again, a lot of people don't know. Like I'd speak to women and like I'd ask them questions in this similar vein to try and understand these like
Did you say him questions?
them. That's them questions. Like to better get their kind of like the sort of deeper levels, not just I like this physical act. It's like, and like so many of them would be like I don't know, or like they have to spend ages thinking about it, or they have to kind of. I would like go on 2 or 3 dates with them
I mean,
before
some
we
people
ever did anything because it's like
most people don't understand what motivates them, like very fundamentally.
which seems
It's
crazy.
like that. Yeah, but I
And then
really
it's
liked it before I met you because the way you talked about certain things makes it seem like you didn't think that much about certain aspects of your life until we started talking, which makes me curious.
I wasn't this introspective until it's mostly after uni when
Yes.
it's like when I was like depressed that first time, like 10 years ago or whatever. Before I moved to London. After uni, before I moved to London. And so this kind of like opening up of like this self-analysis. Yeah, it's like understanding like why do I feel like this? Why am I doing? What am I doing? Like analyzing my own feel because it's like you're having all these like confusing feelings you've never had, and like why do I feel like this? Why can't I think differently? And so this like need for introspection to try and like solve the problem because I would like solve problems before, right? It's like problem solving and think a lot about stuff, but then the idea of like turning it on your own mind.
Using my own weapon against me. What am I doing?
But then I remember that's the main ones. It's like this sort of depressive episode, and then things like that, like dealing with dating and people and things. But then I remember one. I think I've said it before. Like when we were at uni and we were in a pub, and I was trying to explain one of my games, and then you like asked me questions about it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I've never explained an idea to someone before, really." So
What are the underlying themes? Why are you choosing these
so
plot
it's like
points?
in my it's like
what are the
it's in
characters
my
supposed to represent?
brain. It's like conceptually in my brain I see it, but then it's like I don't know how to like.
Yes, because I mean,
explain
it actually makes a lot of sense to do this when you're writing stories or making something that is supposed to be an emotional, something that's supposed to have an emotional impact. But people do this all the time, where you start with like something that's emotionally resonant, and then you work your way backwards, which is a good way of understanding yourself, but it's also a terrible way of actually producing a proper image of the world, but people still do it. So it's like you don't go point by point and then go, and therefore this is the logical conclusion. You start with the conclusion and you work your way backwards in order to justify it most of the time, which is fine for stories. A little worse when you're judging people, etc.
Yeah, So it's, yeah, I just remember that a lot. And like the key. But I'm like, it's weird. I feel like such a different
Oh, shit.
person. Like,
Yes. Ow.
I feel like I was like in fucking standby mode until I was like 21, and then I was like turned on.
Hell yeah. You were turned on, were you? Oh my. Tell me more.
But I think it's also because it's like basically I had very little, basically no kind of like emotional connections or relationships or like kind of
Yeah, but chances are
interactions
you
with
also
people.
were surrounded by people who operated in much the same way.
Yeah, it's like
Like-
family and then same group of friends for like 20 years and
Yeah,
cetera,
yeah,
cetera.
but I'm assuming you basically didn't have these conversations with any of them either. So
no.
it's like,
I
of course, it's
never
gonna be
dated
for
anybody
concept, but
and never really cared much about, never like invested heavily, and never
I was
had
like,
this like
that shit
huge
is so
drive.
funny to me because I remember, like, to me, this is protocol, and it felt like most people around me were like this too, but it seemed like it only really happened once I got them drunk. How to put this? Like, when I'm sober, I act like an idiot, and people around me laugh. It's like when we get drunk, it's like suddenly now people are willing to open up. It's like the inhibitions don't keep them from being funny; it keeps them from being honest or like introspect. So, like, it's like this fucking meme where, like, you become more sophisticated the drunker you get because you start analyzing more, which is like the reverse of what the people expect. But
But for me, it was also this like when I
that's a big hole.
left uni and I got my first job, and basically, like with most jobs, there's like a probation period where it's like, you know, they're like seeing if you fit and whatever, and they can sort of get rid of you.
Yeah.
So I got to the end of my
See if they can get rid of you. I like that phrasing. You make it seem so fucking antagonistic. It's like, we are gonna make your life hell, and we're gonna try to get rid of you as best we can.
well, it's
I
like
don't
if they
think
wanna
that's
get rid of
accurate, but sure.
you. No, I meant like if they want to get rid of you, they don't have to like have cause.
yeah.
They can just get rid of you.
Yeah.
Basically, I was like, got to the end of that, and then my manager was
See
like,
if you're worth keeping. That's how I would phrase it. We're gonna be positive about it. But
So like mine got extended because my manager was like, you've basically made no friends with anybody, and you're like, no, you don't really talk to anybody else that works here, and you sort of don't interact with anybody. And like in my brain, I was like, oh, like, I didn't even notice that. I didn't think about that. I didn't realize.
so they
that I might
fired
have
you
to do-
because you weren't
no, they,
good for the
they
environment?
They extended my probation, saying, you still work here, but if you don't make progress of like, you know,
making
sort of
friends.
like being part of the company, like, you know, talking to people. Like I literally would barely speak to anybody and just do my work and like never have a conversation with
Yeah,
anybody.
mind your own goddamn business.
Right. And just kind of stand there and do nothing. Like just sit on the till and sell shit. Like, so it was like,
They didn't think you were conducive to a good work environment.
yeah, but it was true because I would like panic when anyone would speak to me. I'd be like, oh, what the fuck, how do I have a conversation?
How the fuck did you talk to me? Did you just lose the ability
Well, no,
after
it
you
was-
left uni?
It was.
What-
I think it was a lot. It was like. It was like women and
Fuck 'em.
like more like normies. But even at uni, I had that issue with like women. I think it was
normies.
mostly women because a lot of the people at my work were women. So
Okay.
yeah, because I basically had.
But do you
Yeah, I
respect
know-
women?
Yeah, but like I never had really any female friends until like after uni.
Obviously, bitches ain't nothing but hoes and tricks.
Yeah. But then, so like my association with like how like a woman comes up to me and tries to like talk nice to me and like, hi, how are you doing? Like
Yeah, immediate
my,
panic.
my brain is like blank. I'm like, I'm good. I don't even ask how they are. I'm just like, I'm trying to get away from them. I'm just like, cause it's not that.
I made some movements of this shit.
But it's like, imagine if like your mind is like empty, like you panic because
No, that's what it is most of the
you
time. I
have
think.
no words because your brain gives you
Yeah.
nothing to say. It's just
Yeah.
empty. So I basically, my way of resolving, like, how do I talk with people and like have
And your
conversations
solution was to not do.
and like when I like after I was told, okay, we're gonna fire you if you don't like make friends with people.
Crazy, fucking hilarious.
It's like I
It's like-
basically this realization.
You're gonna have
that,
to make
I
friends like
to-
your life depends.
Yeah. It's like I have to basically figure out, okay, I need to like be able to talk to people, and I have to think like, okay, talk to them all the time, like every day, and like what do we talk about, and what do I just talk about me or just talk about them, or like how do and like so it's like, okay, I have to be honest, like, because I don't want to talk
No.
about the weather and shit, so like I have to
Easy money.
have honest conversations with people about things about my life and I care about and things they in life. So like my methodology was like just be really honest about everything about me, and then I'll bring
Yeah.
up things
Yeah.
about myself that's like very
So,
revealing. So that
You
they'll be
volunteered
comfortable
too much
talking to me.
information.
Well, it was never too much. It wasn't. Everyone was like, "Oh, that's don't too much." It was
That's
like,
what do you think?
yeah, maybe. But then it was like, I was able to. They were able to be comfortable around me because I was able to talk and like have different types of conversations. Like I wasn't just like, shit, I need to think of the next small talk topic like weather, clothes, the news. Da, da, da. It was like, I
Oh,
could.
dude, it's so fucking funny seeing people like go through a conversation manually like that. I don't know how
Yeah.
else to express it. It's like
Yeah.
I'll ask you a bunch of questions. I won't like volunteer any of my own opinion although on those topics and then leave. Like
Yeah. And so,
it's like, man, that was a great conversation.
but it was also mixed in with this like, I hated small talk. So
Oh yeah.
I couldn't stand the small talk. So I think, okay, what can I talk about that isn't boring?
That isn't small.
Yeah. And so it's like,
I only
okay,
do big
sure.
talk. Me big smart.
exactly. So I remember that as like my first. It's like
Brings a smile to my face.
it's like realizing that the goal isn't just to be able to talk to people. It's like, well, like I needed to be able to talk to people to like make friends with them. But then it's like, it's nice to have friends. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Hot take, but sure.
Or it's like you once you get to know people and they're like in your life, then you care more about them. So then you
So,
want
I'm
to
sorry,
be around them.
that's the new title of the stream.
Yeah. But then it's kind of, yeah, so it's like this idea that like, because I was so used to
Who says there aren't benefits to a life
having
of
these very like light relationships with people, it's just like family, we just do stuff and go places and whatever and just do stuff. And like my friends, it was always just like guys and we play games and
Hell yeah.
talk about movies and shit, like
Epic
nothing ever important.
gamers.
And then it's just kind of like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? And like, how do I talk to women? And how do I date anybody? And how would I ask someone out? Or and it's like a really
You don't. You
long
ask them in.
process of like, fucking, like, talking, like being terrified to have a conversation, or like unable to like talk to any woman.
Mhm.
And then basically going from that. It took me like
To be an absolute pussy slayer in a single year. Yes, let's go.
for like fucking 10 years, but like because it was like that at my old job. And when did we finish uni? Like 2013. And
Sure.
then I went to London in 2016, so 3 years at that, 2 years at that job, like friends and kind of, trying to be a normal person and learn to talk to people. And then
How did that
moved to
work
London.
out?
Like, even by then, I'd never asked anyone out because there was just no one I wanted to ask out. And then I lost the weight during that time as well. So when I started, I was overweight at that job. And then when I left, I was like thin. And then...
You lost 60 kilos. You never were 60 kilos. We were
No,
like
I was
80.
150,
Yeah, yeah.
and I went down to like 890 or so.
Okay, yeah.
And then after
Like for
that,
some reason, I tried to like imagine at 60 kilos, like you be a fucking lanky skeleton.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with your morphology, that fucking chest of yours, you'd be fucking spooky.
Oh yeah, baby. What was I saying? Yeah, and then it was like, moved to London,
Yeah.
and I would basically like force myself to go, you know, these like singles events, random fucking
Yeah.
things. Like,
Well
so
worth
it's
it.
again, so the first time I ever asked someone out was like
Quietly now.
when
Yes.
I was in London, maybe 2017. So I was like 25. So like, the first time I ever like asked someone out on a date was when I was like 24, 25. So, and like figuring that out and like, okay, what's rejection like and all this shit, right? And how do I
Yeah.
decide if I like somebody? And like, it was
Oh,
crazy.
my form of rejection was rejecting the idea of dating.
I still don't like the idea that you're like, you kind of. I feel like.
You're
Okay,
like,
it's like, I
you're
can't
taking it so
imagine
much
that
more
you-
personal than
I can't imagine that you don't want to be with somebody,
Okay.
but I don't know. I don't know if you actually said that or you just kind of
And when,
you're like let the fucking wind take you where it goes. I don't know.
no.
You're
I,
like a
I let
leaf
the
in the
tide
wind.
take me
Okay.
into the sea.
It's like. Well, you find a lot of whales in the sea, so it depends what you like.
Wow, yeah, that's what I'm after. Not fish.
Got
I'm
'em.
after those whales.
The crypto whales with like 2
Excuse me?
billion in fucking Bitcoin.
The fuck are you saying?
Crypto whales.
Is that what I am to you?
Our bond is strong.
No, that's what you're looking for in the ocean.
Oh, so we're not really talking about women at this point, okay?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know, you know what you seem smart, so you kind of.
That fucking hesitation, but you seem smart.
Well, it's like I've said everything, you know, my opinion and sort of how I see it, and
Have you?
so I guess like if you don't want to, if you've given up, I don't know if you think of it as giving up.
No, just. I have a hierarchy of priorities, and this isn't high up on it.
What are your priorities then? I wouldn't even be able to say. It.
Well, if you keep pushing, probably suicide.
Well, the doorway's there. It's waiting for you.
You're just a pile of sand. Shut up.
Woo!
What do you mean, whoa?
Call me Sandman.
Give me a dream. Exit light.
Okay, so what are your priorities then? Come on. Puss. Above
This
women.
conversation.
Okay. Do you not want to tell me your priorities? Are you scared?
Then going to bed, having a good night's sleep. Actually, that's getting pretty close. I need to start getting ready. What?
Why are you avoiding the question? Huh?
Are these not adequate answers?
Well, I don't know if I can't tell if you're being serious or not.
Should not prioritize the next step.
Well, like, because I'm assuming basically I say, okay, what's above the priority of like, I don't know, finding a wife or woman or something. So
Yes.
then I'm thinking like large scale goals, but then you say like going to sleep.
Yeah.
So do you mean like regularly or like having a fixed sleep, like a better health? Or like what? What the same like level of sort of in comparison to like that?
What do you mean?
Well, like you can say, okay, my priorities is having dinner because I'm hungry, but then it's not
Yes.
in the same list as like finding
Is
a
it?
partner for life in terms of the sort of degree to which the priorities are. It's like you can have
Well,
daily priorities and like
I
life
don't want to
priorities.
fucking starve in my pursuit.
Okay. Okay, so one of your priorities is to live, okay, which is done through like water and food, okay. And then next on the
but
list,
I don't.
just
I
what?
don't want to just live. I want to thrive. So I want to
Okay, so-
focus on my health.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you not think that maybe like having a partner would make your health better?
No, that would stress me the fuck out.
Okay. Okay. So then you want your health. Then what else? What's next?
Why would I want another fucking human to be responsible for it? Kidding?
Well, you're not responsible for them.
Of course I am.
Well, they're not your child.
Brings a smile
No,
to
they're my
my
partner.
Yeah, but that so
We're
it's like
mutually responsible, or we're supposed to.
right. So it's not just you. But you get benefits from it, right? It's not just like just responsibility and like burden.
I don't know, man. That's a lot of burden.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's a lot of sand to carry, I guess.
Sure, phrase it that way. Why don't you?
So okay. So priority 1, thrive.
Yeah, sure.
Health. Priority 2. What's priority 2?
What more do I need?
Okay, so priority 2 is finding a woman.
Okay,
or like a partner.
if I have good health, what do I need?
Okay, so priority 1, good health, like thrive, whatever.
Yes.
So priority 2 is what? A partner? Is that the list?
Ew, disgusting.
But then it's like you'll never, as you get older, your health will decline. So then you'll never actually be ever reaching that goal of being like healthy. So-
Possible. Wait, what?
So if you so you got a priority list, and so one of them is to like be healthy, but then as you get older, you'll probably get less healthy, right? So you'll never be this like I'm healthy now, because as you get older and live your life, you'll probably get less healthy. So you'll
Yes,
never
but I should
ever
probably try
you'll
and
never
retain it.
reach that. You'll never reach that priority. So
You're right. I
always-
should just give up and let my body lead me to abject misery.
Yeah, but it's like you could focus on multiple things at once. You can give different percentages of your time to different
Can you
priorities.
though?
Yeah.
Okay, how do I prioritize this?
Well, it depends. What you haven't said what your priorities are. All I know is that you want to be
Pick
healthy.
one. Pick one for me. Yeah, I want to be
Okay,
healthy.
you want to be healthy.
And then you
wanna-
mix in whatever the fuck you care about, so I can have a demonstration of how to do this.
So you don't have any priorities. You just
Uh,
know
health.
that you're not interested in looking for a partner.
I just know that my current health is kind of fucking shit, and I don't know what to do about it, and it keeps getting in the way.
Okay.
So everything else is like beyond secondary, honestly.
Yeah, makes sense. I guess. Like you just haven't bothered. There's no point thinking. Yeah, that makes sense. But you make
like
it sound
I-
worse than how I think you've explained it. You know what I mean?
I mean, what the
Like as
hell?
in, like the way you describe it, it's just okay, like I have trouble sleeping.
Yeah,
But then the way you say it is like it's a priority above everything else. Is in like you're like suffering every day.
I kind of am. Like, if I could just fucking fix this fucking sleep shit, like I don't know how the fuck to communicate this to other people, like how the fucking sleep shit affects me.
So what? Like,
It's like
when you're awake.
it's really weird how this shit works because I'm currently actually in a pretty bad sleep period, but as you might be able to tell, I'm pretty responsive when I'm in conversation. But like
Yeah.
I can't fucking sleep, so it's like I'm at a borderline permanent level of brain activity that like won't go down, so therefore I can't sleep. And then I'm going to have like these fucking dips where I can't fucking have any energy throughout the day, and I sleep, but it doesn't feel like I have any energy. And at some point, I have like the flip again, and I have like one night or 2 nights of really good sleep and some like daytime good brain activity, and then I go back to being 100% on again. It's like
So as
the
in,
ebb and
like,
flow of that is fucking.
so the like you feel like
Infuriating.
your 100% brain activity like stops you from sleeping.
Yes, it's like
Yeah, I get that.
it's like I can't put my mind in a state where I can actually sleep. So like I it's like how to put this? It's like putting my brain in sleep mode in terms of a computer. Like the activity is still there. I'm still like drawing power, and I'm never actually rebuilding or recuperating
Does
at
it
all.
Does it feel like one continuous day, like all the time?
Kind of like it's like I feel like I have a few slight lapses of consciousness that I might be able to qualify as sleep.
So it's like every week for you is like
It's
a
like
day.
they might be like 10 to 30 minutes, and it's like once to 4 times a night. It's fucking insane.
Yeah. So like you wake
And
up a lot while you're asleep. Like you kind of come back in and out.
It's like it's so much a gradient. It's hard to tell when I can ever like fully qualify as one or the other.
Well, I don't know if maybe it's similar to me in terms of what I had when. So like panic attacks when I'm sleeping, and like I was afraid. Even now, I'm still a bit like I don't know if I worry about sleeping because I've like built this horrible like association with like sleep is.
Creep.
Yeah, it's like sleep equals nightmares and like panic attacks. So when it's like I try to keep my brain on to
Not sleep.
not sleep. Yeah. So I can go to sleep, but this period where it's like I'm trying to sleep, I have like anxiety because it's like either I'll think about the fear of like, oh god, I'm gonna have panic attacks when I sleep, or like, oh, I get like when I was like, okay, the death is like right behind me, I'm gonna die, and like everything is fucking sand and like it's pointless to fucking do it. So it's like the intrusive thought. So where you say like your brain is at 100% activity. For me, it's similar in a sense, but it's like my brain is like yelling at me, like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you even alive? Like, what's the point of anything?"
My God, Isaac.
Like it's basically my brain is trying to like tell me
This
what
is supposed to
reality
be
is.
a place of fun and joy.
Yeah. No, but it's like my brain is trying to tell me this is what reality is, and then
Yes. And
in my mind, I'm like, it can't be that because then it's like pointless to do anything, and so it's like this conflict in my brain where it's like, I'm
you have to convince
trying.
yourself life is worth living. But
Yeah, that's it, right? I'm trying to convince myself to like keep going, right?
my God, Isaac.
Like all the time. Okay, so it's like the activity in my brain is all dedicated to that.
What if the illusion breaks, Isaac?
Right, exactly. So that when you say like, okay, my brain won't shut up, is like 100% all the time, so I can't sleep. Maybe I get kind of what you're saying in that limited sense.
But only
'cause it's like-
maybe.
Did with me.
yeah, well, I'm trying.
Good job. I
And,
appreciate
like,
you trying.
So yeah, so where this idea of you can't switch it on, so you can't switch it off, so you're sort of in this kind of the same way that maybe like you're like driving a car with no brakes. So you just keep going as fast, like you keep going at top speed, and then you just keep driving, and well, you can't turn your car off. It's always at like 100 miles an hour. And so if you're on a long motorway with like infinite roads, it's fine because you don't have to stop or do anything. But as soon as it's like a bendy road, or there's other people on the road, or there's a fucking this and that, and you have to try and slow down, it's like, but your car can't stop. So you're
Sorry,
like,
the term bandy road makes it seem elastic.
yeah. So,
That is a wild ride.
but is that how it's like almost like your brain?
To my face.
You're like, you can't you can adapt in some ways, but it's like you never get this like peace to stop. It's like you're always.
I feel like I'm missing certain biological and or chemical components that let me easily enter the state of sleep, and it seems to be fluctuating in ways that people have a hard time understanding or relating to.
But then how? But are they like components you think you'd get from diet or outside, or do you think they're things that are like
I'm
made
trying
in your
like
brain?
hard to focus on that.
'Cause your brain
to
makes most
figure
of
it
your
out, but
hormones.
it's like it seems to do very little.
But can you get like tested for like, okay, you're missing these. You have like this deficiency. You have this deficiency.
I've been fucking pestering my doctor for fucking years. Like, if there's like more options for me, I'd like to know them. But like, it's like I've been fucking begging to be put into like a, I don't know what to call it, like a sleep analysis environment where they just like
Yeah.
scan my fucking brain while I'm asleep. It's generally very expensive because you need to have several doctors on call, and they need to
Yeah.
like analyze me throughout the fucking night, and then probably gonna analyze it afterwards as well.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know what the fuck else to do. But even though I've been asking for it, they still haven't fucking hooked me up. So like, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
That does sound like the best. Yeah, it does sound like the, because it's like, if you're able to enter sleep, but even then it's like disturbed, or it's like,
Exactly. Or even if they like, dude, what if they figure out it's like, oh no, you never technically sleep? Fucking that would fucking explain a lot.
yeah, because it's almost like,
But it's like
What
I just want to know so I can have peace of mind and start focusing on other things instead of like having this possibility in the
Yeah.
back of my head.
because think of it as almost like, say there could be something that's in your brain keeping you awake, right? So when you're asleep and you're getting like woken up constantly in the middle, or like up and down, in and out, it's like that thing could be.
They can also
kicking
figure
you
out
out
that
of sleep.
I might just be like respond better to certain chemicals, so then I can like live off of a certain sleep medicine. That could also be an option.
Yeah.
It's just that I don't like doing. I've tried different sleep medicines and I don't like them because, like, even when I do fall asleep, then I'm like groggy the next day. So like it doesn't even help because the point isn't for me to sleep. The point is so that I have energy during the day that I want to have, as like is useful and helpful. And also over time I get resistant, so then I'm back to square one.
Yeah. But have you thought like in terms, because so when you do sleep, did you say that you get like knocked out, like you keep going in and out, you keep waking up sort of periodically?
Again, it's like a gradient. Like you shouldn't think of it in terms of like binarity. It's not helpful.
When you say gradient, what gradient of what, like your wakefulness, or how often it
imagine a
happens?
sine wave, and below a certain threshold, you're supposed to fall asleep. But like, but my sine wave like barely dips below that threshold sometimes, and it's hard for me to tell if it ever really happened in the first place.
So you're kind of like half asleep all the time.
Yes.
The wind knows me.
And
Sounds
when you're
good,
half,
doesn't
like, yeah.
Everyone hold hands. Dissipate.
Oh, it's getting late. I need to start getting ready for bed soon.
Yeah. So then I'm thinking like you might even have like an abundance of something rather than a deficiency or something. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But obviously you wouldn't know because people won't analyze your brain while you're sleeping. Because they're motherfuckers.
Yes. Don't tell me that. Tell them.
Have you like looked into, I don't know, is there private options? It might be fucking crazy expensive. Like you go to fucking
Yes,
England
but-
and do it, I don't know.
Like I'm supposed to be able to get like a referral from my doctor, but I'm just gonna have to fucking turn it into a hostage situation. Like either give me this fucking referral, I'll kill everybody you love. Just... Like he hasn't taken it seriously so far. I guess we have to go to this drastic options.
Yeah.
I like a fucking numb York to what I'm saying.
As in like it makes sense to me that you'd like hostage situation.
Who says there aren't benefits
You know,
to
I'm like,
life
no,
at
don't do that. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Fucking like, like
Sometimes the doctor has to die. You know. It's
well,
how it is.
it's like, well, could you? Well, the same way there's like, you know, people go to different countries to get different medicine, like treatments. You could just fucking go to Turkey or some shit, because they do loads of medical shit for cheap or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just come to England and go to.
You're
some
telling
fucking...
me to go to Turkey to get some bootleg medicine.
No, as in like, say that like private options aren't good in Norway or whatever, or too expensive or fucking whatever. Just go, come to England and do it. You know what I mean?
Isaac, there are easier way to get into my pants. Okay.
Okay, don't go to France and do it.
We're not family.
Yeah, shit. Go to
Remember that meme?
Germany and do it. Yeah.
That was a good meme.
Yeah. Okay, well, I don't know, go. Well, what is it you need? Like a sleep clinic? That's kind of what it's
I
called,
went
isn't
to
it?
one. I was just like, he gave me the fucking same old song and dance that I've heard before. It was just like, here's how you fix your sleep schedule. It's like, I've done this several times. I've done this so much. I know it by heart.
Yeah.
So of course he told me again and said, no, don't worry, this time will work.
But like, you want to go private to a point where it's like, just take my money and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the point that I'm reaching, which is why I'm gonna hold this hostage situation. If he absolutely wants to die, I'll go to someone else.
But it's like, do you need the hostage situation if you could just go somewhere and pay them to do it? You don't need the referral if you just go somewhere else. Like, you say it as if you need the referral.
The
But if you-
referral makes things cheaper. If I go private, it's guaranteed to be expensive.
But that's what I mean.
So
like,
obviously, I'd like to try and reduce the price, and if I can't, then do it anyway.
but then, if there's a cheaper version,
Why
in
would you
another
pay
country-
more for something you could pay less for?
No, I get that. Like, you know, you want the referral for cheaper, but it's like, could you still
Go
get
on.
the cheap price if you came to France and did it, or Germany or England or something? And they just have the same thing, but just like cheaper because Norway is expensive. Or something. So you just go Google, it's like French sleep clinic, and they're like, okay, sleep study, 10,000 euros. And then in Norway, it's like 20,000 euros.
I mean, it'd
So
be
you just-
good to
okay.
know if they were legit before I went there,
Yeah.
instead of just going to.
That's what I
Yes,
mean, like-
yes, bona fide sleep clinic. Oui, oui, yes, that is us. And then I show up, and then
They just
they,
bonk you on the head.
yeah, and then
throw
they
you
slip a
in a
finger in
fucking-
my ass and tell me to cough even though I'm knocked out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get you. But that's what I do with my fucking tonsils. It's like constant infections. Like they're like, oh, we only do surgery on people that have had like 4 infections, so you have to get ill more for us to do surgery on you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ow.
It's like,
Ow.
okay, great. And it's like, okay, so now you're okay. You've had enough infections now, so we'll put you on the wait list. Could be a year. We don't know. It's like, oh my fucking god. So it's like, okay, I'll just go private and fucking £1,000, and someone just lasers them out of my head.
Professionals.
So it's like that. I was in this situation where it's like I'm just fucking getting ill all the time. And
Sounds like a you problem.
and I'm just coughing and fucking like
Coughing
it
and
was just
fucking,
getting
Jesus.
it was getting worse. Where like I was delirious and
Maybe you
couldn't
should drop
stand
the
up.
fucking and cough less.
Yeah.
Who says
Well, like the
there are
one that I
limits to a
had
life of wandering?
before I got them taken out, it was like
You got taken out. You like they sent a hitman. What the fuck is that
well,
kind of
before
phrasing?
they got taken out,
Oh.
like my tonsils.
Oh! Sorry, like the term they just sounded a
Yeah.
little anthropomorphic in this situation. Sorry, my bad.
It's like I literally like I was that ill, and like I was like delirious in and out of sleep. I couldn't think straight, and like I was like unable to like stand up, and I had to like call an ambulance. I called the like non-emergency number to ask advice, and they're like, "We're gonna send an ambulance to you because you're like all fucked up."
If this was America, you'd hang up and scream.
Yeah. So that was for me. It was just like, right, I'm not waiting a year to get them taken out, and then it'd be like weeks of recovery because they just cut them out. So I was just okay. There's this guy does them for like
Time to go.
lasers them out, and you're healed in a few days for like £1,000. So okay, I'll do that.
Fantastic.
And now I'm like a lot better. So it's yeah, I guess for you, that's your only option. It seems like dealing with a shit system or paying the cost.
The cost being my life.
Have you ever like
Yeah. What?
I don't know, like
Why am I still
just,
here?
like,
I need to hang up and
random,
get ready
yeah.
for bed.
Have you ever like thought of getting a dog and then like having the dog sleep in the bed and then maybe that'll help?
Oh god, no. Fuck no. It's just, that does not sound like a solution. Sounds like an
What
additional
you do,
problem.
first thing you do is like hire a prostitute for a night, but don't sleep with her. Just like sleep. They don't fuck her, but like they sleep in the same bed and like see if that helps. Just like having someone next to you. That could work.
So, how much is a night with you gonna cost me?
Hmm. I should be paying
That
you.
life, I should be. It shouldn't cost me anything.
No. But I mean, like someone you're not like, you know, that it is not uncomfortable to be with you in the bed. That wants to like physically touch you while you're asleep. That will like spoon you or you spoon them.
Isaac, please, I can only get so hard.
Right.
Okay, whatever. Time for bed, Lemire.
Goodbye, little one.